Welcome everybody, and you are joining us live as we talk about using ChurchTrac for children's ministry. My name is Wes, and I'm going to be showing everybody around the software today as we talk about all the features that ChurchTrac offers to be able to manage and track our children's ministry here. And I see we've got a good group in here already, so this is fantastic. So before I go ahead and get started, I do want to remind everybody about our Facebook group. If you have not checked out our Facebook group, you should totally check it out. That's just such a great place to talk to other ChurchTrac users from all around the world, be able to share tips and tricks and just talk about beyond ChurchTrac, really. So there you go. And also, just a quick FYI, when you are using the software, if you ever need help, maybe you just find yourself stuck and you just need that extra boost to learn a feature or something, you can just click that green help button to the top right, and there you can go ahead, check out our online user guide or videos, or reach out to one of our awesome support team people. All right, well, all of our webinars, we always like to have some kind of key takeaways and everything, and so today is no different. I'm going to have a few takeaways to leave everybody with. So today we're talking about using ChurchTrac primarily in the children's ministry setting, and so we're going to talk about assigning tags and using check-in. This is a huge feature in children's ministry, and we'll walk through what that looks like. Then we're going to talk about scheduling your volunteers for children's ministry. And then messaging parents and volunteers as well. So when you have those times when you want to send out a mass text message or an email to all of your people, you can do that quickly and easily with ChurchTrac. And then we're going to finish things up with creating online signups. And I'm going to use VBS as the guinea pig for today, since that is coming up for many of us. So let's go ahead, let's get started and have some fun, shall we? So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen here. And I am logged into ChurchTrac here. And just kind of a quick FYI, you do need to have all the permissions for the different screens to be able to do some of the things we're doing today. So just double check on that if you are not an admin on ChurchTrac. Just make sure you have all the permissions. So let's go ahead and let's talk about tags and using check-in. So check-in is a pretty big feature in ChurchTrac. We use check-in to be able to keep our children safe and secure, but also just keep track of how many children we have in all of our different classes and everything. And the way we use check-in is it all starts with tags. So tags, long story short, it's how you organize people in ChurchTrac. You use tags for a lot of things, and including attendance, since check-in is a part of attendance. And so ahead of time, what you'll need to do is go to your people screen, and you'll actually want to go ahead and create a tag if you have not already that you're going to be utilizing for your attendance. And so, for example, I go to my tags tab on the people screen, and then I would actually just click create a new tag, and I'm just going to say this one's called Children's Ministry Test here, and I'll click OK. And then this is the big thing. You want to select yes for attendance tracking and check-in. If this isn't selected, this particular tag won't apply for that. So make sure that you click yes for attendance tracking and check-in there. And so that way we can start utilizing that tag. Now I've gone ahead and I've already got tags created for all that. So let me go ahead and walk you through the check-in process and just kind of really quickly showing you what it looks like and all the tips and tricks here. So I'm going to go to my events and attendance screen because this is where the check-in is at. And I will go to my attendance and check-in tab here. And I'm going to go ahead and create a date for which I want to do check-in. And I'll just create one for today as just a quick children's ministry test here. So add a date. And I'm just going to name this Children's Ministry Test. And we'll say this is today. And then you want to select a calendar that you want to apply this event to. I always recommend having your own children's ministry calendar and then just applying all those events to that calendar. But realistically, I mean, you can use any calendar for that matter. And then go ahead and create this attendance date. Now, remember how we created that tag for our children's ministry, and you'll want to apply that tag to all of your children that you're going to be checking in. So once you've done that process, you can go ahead and select the tags you want to use for your children's ministry here. And I'm going to scroll down here, and I'm going to select just my main children's ministry tag that's encompassing all of my subtags here, and apply. So now I've got my tags loaded in here. I'm ready to rock and roll. So I will just go to this check-in mode here. And that's actually going to open up another tab here in ChurchTrac. And ChurchTrac has both a manned and an unmanned station. And this is really great because if you are in a situation where you have a high volume of children that you are checking in and out, then it might be good to have like 1 or 2 unmanned stations that parents can go ahead and get their labels printed out ahead of time, and then have that manned station for maybe guests that are coming to the children's ministry for the first time to check in their children. Or you may be in a situation where you want to have a couple manned stations. I'm going to show you a manned station. The process is really not much different, to be completely honest with you. Very similar. So when a parent goes to check in their child, they can search by the phone number, or you can search by their name. I'm going to search by name just because I don't know the phone number off the top of my head. I mean, who does these days? Am I right? So Kleins, there we go. So Casey is checking in her 2 children, Nick and Nora. So for me to perform the check-in process for these children, it's very simple. All I have to do is select each child that I want to check in. And so you can see they both just highlighted. And now I can go ahead and click this Print Labels button. And when I click that button, it will go ahead, it'll generate the labels and everything. I'll have that matching label for the parent as well, that parent, you can actually split that in half, and one parent can give it to another parent or another guardian too as well. I've got an emergency contact number, allergies, any special notes here. Nick has his inhaler in his bag. And we always recommend, just for the children, maybe to take that label, put it on their back perhaps. That's usually a good place to put it. Now you saw those allergies and special notes. Let me show you how to do that real fast. So I'm going to go ahead, search by name again here. And so these were the children I already checked in, but if you actually click this edit button to the right of a child, that's going to bring this dropout menu where I can actually go here and put in any allergies or medical issues, special notes, and then obviously an emergency contact number, which is so important. We want to have that just in case there is an issue, or in many cases, in my experience with nieces and nephews, they sometimes can have meltdowns. So it's good to have a number to get in touch with the guardian there. So that's just quickly showing you the check-in process. And then one other thing I do want to point out here in the check-in. So oftentimes we have new families come to check in their children for the first time, and these families may not even be in our database yet here at ChurchTrac, or not here at ChurchTrac, but at your church. And so you can actually add that family right then and there in your children's ministry. And the way you do that is you just go to the top right here, where you see where it says Add Family. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And then I could actually begin typing in the name of the parent or guardian here. And then let's just say, Janice and Wells. So Janice Wells, and I can even put here that Janice is a guest, and I can even go to additional fields if I would like, and maybe put in a mobile phone number for Janice, which is super important. We definitely want to have some info like that. So I go ahead, put in a mobile phone number, hit close, and now I want to go ahead and add another family member. Obviously, I want to add Janice's child here, and Janice is just checking in one child, and this is going to be her son Matthew. So Matthew Wells. And then from here, I can actually select the tag assignment that I want to apply here. And in this situation, I just have one tag for all the children's ministry, child check-in. And there we go. If I wanted to add other information, I could, but I'm going to go ahead and hit submit. And so now I've created a new family, added it to ChurchTrac, and it's already selected the child to check in, and then I could print that label out for that child, Matthew, and be ready to go. But obviously, you probably want to go ahead and put in that emergency contact number I just mentioned earlier. So make sure you do that. So that is the check-in, check-out process. Is the exact same thing. It's just checking out. So there you go, check-in. It's a great feature, and it's included with all paid ChurchTrac plans. So if you're on the standard or plus plan, you've got that feature. Now let's talk about scheduling volunteers, shall we? So Children's ministry can often be a very labor-intensive ministry, and I'm not even talking about just VBS here, but just in general, when we're talking about a nursery, toddlers, children's church, whatever it may be, even if your children's ministry only has 3 children or if it has 300, it's still a place where it's happening, and sometimes it's crazy. And so we need an easy way to schedule our volunteers, and let me show you how you can do that with ChurchTrac. So I'm going to go to the worship planning and scheduling screen here. And I've actually already created some services here for our children's ministry. And in this situation, you could create a service outline. And we do this for our big worship service at church where we have all our different songs and everything. But in children's ministry setting, we really don't need all that. And so I actually just kind of keep things simple with my outline for our people. And also, you can schedule your children's ministry volunteers in tandem with all of your other volunteers in one main service. So it really just comes down to how your church wants to schedule. If you're the only one utilizing the scheduling features right now, then I would keep things simple and just make it for you. So let me go ahead and show you kind of the process of doing all this. So to create a service, you're going to go ahead and click Create Service here to the bottom left. And then you can enter a title for the service. I'm just going to call it Children's Ministry. And the service date, let's say the service date is actually, we're going to go way out to the future, 7/11. And this is going to be to our children's ministry calendar. And I can actually create a service with a template if I would like. And I'm not going to show you that just because I want to show you the process of adding some volunteers. But just know you can create a template from any service, and then from there on out, it's really easy peasy. So I'm not going to create using a template, but I will put a location here, Education Building 1. And there we go. So create service. So now I've got this service I've created. I'm not really going to bother making a worship outline right now. I want to focus on scheduling some people. So let's go ahead, schedule some people here. So I go to scheduling and roles, and right now I've got no people in this service, so I need to go ahead and start scheduling some people. So I am going to go ahead and add roles or people here. Now I have gone ahead and I've actually created roles in ChurchTrac and assigned people to them. And so let me show you what that looks like real quick before we start adding them to the service, because I think that would make better sense chronologically here. Chronologically, that's the word of the day. So I'm going to go to the Teams and Roles tab. So this is probably going to be the first place you want to go to set up your teams that I would recommend. So I've got my children's ministry team that I've created. And to create a new team, all you have to do is click Create a New Team. And then you'll just name your team, whatever you want it to be. And then from there, you can start adding people to it. So once I've got my team created, I can put a description. I can actually assign a team leader in ChurchTrac. I can check whether or not I want them to be able to see the worship outline and songs. Like I said, children's ministry may not be that necessary for you. And then I can go to team roles. And if you're creating this for the first time, you won't have any, so you'll need to create a new role. And all you have to do is click Create New Role, and then you'll just go ahead and type out what that role is. Now, I've gone ahead of time and done that process for you here. So you can see I've got nursery worker, toddler teacher, pre-K teacher, children's church. I even have a security person here in our children's ministry, just because that's something recently we've started doing. And so if I click a particular role, you can actually see everybody that's been assigned to that role. And I can go ahead and I can search additional names to add them. So once you've gone ahead and created your team and created your different roles and added your people to your roles, you'll be able to go ahead and start adding them into your worship service or children's church service in this case. So let me go back to the service and scheduling here. And we'll go to that children's ministry service I've created. And I'll go to scheduling and roles. So now I can add people in roles. And so I'm going to click the children's ministry. And from here, I can go ahead and start clicking all the people that I would like to add to this to be able to schedule. I can also add roles, which is really handy. So if I have particular roles where I need to fill up all these positions here, I could do that. So it really just comes down to what best suits you. But I think as you'll see as we get going here, you'll probably create a template, have your roles, and you'll probably never have to do all this manually again. But it's at least good for you to see that, just kind of the gist of it. So once I've gone ahead, I've added all of my people and done all that, it's going to look something like this. So I have all my people here, and I'll actually go to one I haven't sent out invites yet for, so you can see that. So I've got all my people that I've scheduled here, and now I can go ahead and start sending out scheduling invites for my children's ministry. So check this out. So I go to click Send Invites, and I'm just going to select the team. Now, I'm the team leader of the children's ministry, so that's the one that pops up by default. If you're a team leader of other teams, you'll actually see all the teams appear here. So I'm just going to select children's ministry. And then I also want to send a reminder message to my people because I don't know about you, but I've had this happen so many times, especially leading worship, where I'll schedule people like a month out or a couple weeks out, and I'll get a text message at 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning. And it never fails. I'll be walking into the church, turning on the lights, and a text message comes in, and they say, "Oh, I forgot I'm scheduled. I can't make it." And I know this probably has happened to some of you in children's ministry. Well, now you can send out a scheduling reminder. And so ChurchTrac will automatically send out a reminder a couple days in advance if you'd like, or maybe a day before. You get to choose. And then I'll send out these invites to my team. Click OK. And now the system went ahead, it sent out my invites to those people, and it says right here, reminders are scheduled to be sent 2 days before this event. So there we go. Now, let's talk about like scheduling our people and looking at things kind of more on a macro level. Because a lot of times in children's ministry, I know that we're trying to maybe look at a month at a time, especially if you're doing like rotating schedules and things. So you can actually go on any service here. And you can, I'll click my first service I have, which is the one that's coming up the soonest, on the 13th. And I'll just click this side-by-side button. This might be your new favorite feature. We'll see. So side-by-side. And right here, it's got the outline on the top, which I'm not really concerned about children's ministry here. I'm more so concerned about scheduling my people. And now I've got all of my people and the roles. Now, I want to look at 4 services at the same time because I'm trying to schedule things and get things done here. So I can load services here at the top and then begin to load my additional services. So I'm going to load the 20th, the 27th, and the 4th. So load selected services. So now I've got 4 children's services loaded up here, my children's ministry. And I've already actually gone through and started doing some of the scheduling here. But this is really great because now I can see things at more of a bird's eye view. And let's say this happens all the time where you'll have someone say, "Hey, I actually can't serve next week, but I talked to so-and-so and they said they were going to swap with me. So can you go ahead and swap us?" That's really easy with ChurchTrac because all you have to do is toggle between move or copy. I'm going to go to move. And let's say that Ruth is actually going to swap with our other pre-K teacher. So let's say Sydney is going to swap with Ruth. So I'm going to move Ruth over here. And then I'm going to move Sydney over here. And there we go. I just swapped their roles, or they have the same roles, but I just swapped them for the days that they were serving. And it's really easy. You can do that with ChurchTrac all day long. So I just want to show you that feature really quick just because it's one of my favorites. So that's scheduling. We've got other YouTube videos that kind of show more in depth on scheduling just because there's obviously a whole lot more I haven't even gotten a chance to touch on. But at least you can see just the power of scheduling and how you can use this for your children's ministry. All right. Well, moving along, I want to talk about messaging because we have times where we need to get a word out to all of our parents or our volunteers, and ChurchTrac makes it really easy for you to do that. So let me show you how. So I actually took the time to create what we call smart lists in ChurchTrac. If you've never seen a smart list, I encourage you, check out our user guide. We have a whole article about smart lists and how to use them. But basically a smart list, it's a list that of your people that's based off of specific criteria. And so I actually have one smart list that has all of my children's ministry volunteers where if a person has any one of these tags that they serve in our children's ministry, then they're going to appear on this smart list. And I also have one for children's ministry parents where if I've tagged them as a parent, then they're going to be on that list. So when I go to my people screen and I select that smart list, so let's say, children's ministry parents. It's going to pull up all the parents here. So I've got a list of 28 parents right now. So let's say I want to remind my parents about VBS, because that's coming up in July. Want to let them know. So I can go to my messaging tab, and then I can go to send an email. So I'm going to send a mass email. And I was actually already typing some of this a little bit earlier, and so remembered it from earlier. So VBS registration is open. You can go type out all the stuff you want to type out, include a link to register, which we'll talk about that in a minute. And then I can send this out to all my parents. But let's flip-flop. Let's say that this is an email I don't want to send to my parents. I want to send it to all of my volunteers because, as you know, yes, it's super important to get kids signed up in VBS, but I would argue probably the thing that's even more important is getting volunteers for VBS because it is very volunteer intensive. And so I want to send out an email to all my volunteers, just giving them a heads up so that way I kind of feel out, how many people are going to be able to serve. So I'm going to select the smart list and go Children's Ministry Volunteers. And then I would just change up this email and send that off. And so that's how you would use messaging in this situation to be able to reach out to parents or to be able to reach out to the volunteers in our children's ministry. And I know I am flying here. There's a lot more I could dive into, but that is what our Q&A time at the end will be for, where I will take time and answer all of your questions. And if you're watching this at a later time that is previously recorded, just reach out to our support team if you ever need any help. So let's go ahead and let's talk about creating online signups, all right? And this is kind of the last big one, and this one really encompasses a whole lot, so I'm probably going to spend about an equal amount of time with this as I was everything else, just because it's such a big deal. Because we really want to make it easy for people to register for VBS, but also we want to make it easy for our volunteers to sign up to as well. So let me show you how to do it with Church Connect. So if you haven't yet used Church Connect is a website and a app. It's unified for your church, and it's included with ChurchTrac Standard and Plus plan. And so to get there, I go to my settings on ChurchTrac, and then I go to the Church Connect tab. And then I can go ahead and do one of two things here when it comes to getting people to sign up for an event. I can have an event that I've already created and have people sign up through an event card, or I can actually create a form card in Church Connect for people to sign up with. Now, in the situation of VBS, I lean more towards creating a form card. And the reason for that is because we have a lot of people that are going to be registering for VBS that don't even go to our church. A lot of parents, when they drive by the church and they see a sign that says VBS and those are the dates, we always kind of make the joke about it, but a lot of parents see that as, oh, free daycare. But that is the truth for some parents out there. But so long story short, we have a lot of people that are registering for VBS that don't come to our church. And so we need to make that process of registration really just something that they can quickly do in like a minute or two. So let me kind of walk you through the process of making a form card that looks great, that also functions really well, that's going to do what you need it to do so you can plan out your VBS. So I'm going to first show you my form card and kind of show you what it looks like and everything, and then I'll kind of walk you through the process of how I created it. And to show it off, I'm actually going to pull out the handy-dandy cell phone because, I talk about Church Connect being an app and everything, and it'd be silly for me not to show it in the app form. So let me go ahead and get the cell phone out to show you that. All right, so I've got it pulled up, and right now I'm logged in to my Church Connect app, which I downloaded by simply just scanning the QR code that we provide in the Church Connect settings there. And I'll show you more about that later if you'd like. So I have our VBS registration at the very top here, right under the prayer card. And as you can see, it has the date that I've put here. Click to register each child or volunteer. Now, before I even click this card, I want to give you some reasoning here. The reason I said click to register each child or volunteer is because I wanted a unified form where it didn't matter if someone was a volunteer or a child, they could use the same form to register because it just makes things easier. Sometimes it can get complicated when you have a form for this, a form for that, form for something else. So I just made one form for both. So I click it. All right, and then I put a little note here. Please complete a registration for each child/volunteer separately. And so from here, I can go ahead and start typing out the information. So I'm actually going to register a child, and this child's name is John, and last name is White, John White. And then an email, I put here leave blank if child, because I don't think a toddler's going to have a email address. I hope not. And then a phone number, leave blank if a child. So I'm going to leave that blank. And are you registering as a child or volunteer? Registering as a child. Grade last completed. I'm going to say that this child is still pre-K here. And birthday, oh man, I got to think through my mind what that age would be. It's not going to be June 2021, so it'll be like 2000 and we'll say 2017. There we go, June 9th, 2017. We'll stick with that. It's not too big of a deal here for that matter. Then a t-shirt size. In this situation, definitely use small, even smaller probably. And then emergency contact. So I'm going to put, how about myself? I'll just put Wes. And then I'll put a phone number here, 904, not my real phone number online. And then I also put another field here, do you currently attend potential church? I'm going to say no. And click submit. There we go, your submission was successful. Click here to return to the welcome page. So now if I wanted to, let's say I was a volunteer, I wanted to register, same process. And so that's just really quickly showing you that form that I created. Now let me walk you through the process of what that form looks like, shall we? So switching gears to the settings on Church Connect, let me go ahead and first show you when it comes to creating a form card, you got to first create a new form card. And the way you do that is you go to your settings on Church Connect, and then you click New Card. And then from here, you're going to name your card, and I'm going to name this one VBS Test. And then I'm going to select the card type. Now, I don't have time to go over all the card types here, but just know that there are different types of cards that do different types of things in ChurchTrac. And when it comes to creating forms, we want to use a form card. So I'm going to click Form Card and add this card. All right, so it's been created. Now the menu popped out, and I can go ahead and start adding some additional information here. So the first thing I always recommend is go ahead of time and select the user that you want notified for every single form submission that gets filled out there. So I just put myself here. And then I'm going to go ahead and edit my form fields. Why not? So these form fields, these are the fields that we are creating for the event. So I'm going to go ahead and start just creating one. So add a new field. I'll just say name. And then you can select the field type. So this is a small text box. And you can even add a description. So if you have to describe it, you can do that. You can also put whether or not it needs to be required. And then you can also have that field show either always or only if someone's logged into Church Connect or if someone is not logged into Church Connect. When it comes to doing a form card for VBS or anything like VBS, I would probably just make all of your fields always visible just because it keeps consistency whenever you start getting your form responses. And I guess I'll talk about the new feature later. So I'm going to add a new field again. And we'll put this one email. And so then from here, I would go ahead, put a text box, and then click add to this field. And so then I would just keep repeating this process for all these different fields that I want to have here that people can answer. So that way we can grab this information and use it for the sign up and everything. Now just a quick FYI, when it comes to doing forms in Church Connect, form cards are not going to accept payment. So if you are holding some sort of event where you actually do have to take payment, that's going to be an event form that you're going to be utilizing for that. And so oftentimes in VBS, we're not taking payment, but it really just comes down to what you're trying to do. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. So that's basically the process of going and adding in all those fields. And then from there, I'll go back to my card here, this test one that I just created a second ago. And I can actually go and maybe put an image there. So you saw on my card I showed earlier, I had like this cool image that was like orange with VBS registration. So I would actually go to Edit Card, and I can drag and drop a file there to upload. I actually think I have one hanging out here. Yeah, this one is, it's not VBS, but I'll still drag and drop it just so you can see. Oh, I accidentally moved everything there. There we go. So I'll just put VBS registration. And so that's how you just drag and drop an image there. And I could put a title, I could put card content, I could put a footer, and all that good stuff. Now, when it comes to viewing the responses, so after we've created our form card and people have started to click that link, fill out the forms, and be a part of our VBS, we want to go ahead and view those form responses. And the way to do that is you actually just click View Form Responses here to the bottom right. And then I will just select the form card. So I'm going to select VBS. And there we go. So I have those responses right there. And just a quick little thing to kind of let everybody know on. We are actually in the process of having our form responses even, I can't even think how to word this. We're basically making it better, and it's going to be awesome. And just be watching Facebook or YouTube as you'll see an announcement about it probably in the next 24 hours or so. And if you're watching this video at a later date, you're already enjoying them. So there you go. So that's viewing the form responses. And I'm sure people are already wondering, well, what are these new updates? Wouldn't you like to know? Just pay attention later tomorrow. And you can actually, this is great, we'll actually announce this tomorrow, but you can, at any time when you're using ChurchTrac, and when you go to your home screen, you can actually click this What's New tab. And we are going to be announcing this, and this will be on the What's New tab. You'll actually see a little notification there, just like that little red one I've got on my reminders, letting you know about that notification of that new update that we're going to be releasing tomorrow. So there you go. And just wanted to quickly show off another thing that was, it's not really form card related, but it's still kind of related to Church Connect, because I want you to see what it looks like when you're scheduling your volunteers. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my phone screen again here. So when we schedule our volunteers, we can actually send out it'll automatically send a text message if we want to do that, or an email where people can go ahead and respond to that. And basically all it's asking is, hey, so-and-so, can you serve for this particular event, this date, for this particular role, yes or no? And once a person has responded to that, they'll be able to see that on Church Connect. And so if I click that menu here, so again, you click that menu on the top left, and then you go to upcoming events. So I actually have this children's ministry. So I have been scheduled to serve on June 20th as security in the children's ministry. Now I haven't actually responded to this yet, but it is there. And if I want to, I can go ahead and say accept. And there we go. So hi Ronald, your role for this event. And then if I needed to, I could add a special note or something here. And then here's another cool thing. Let's say I can't make it. I can actually just click decline, and then I can put a note and say, you know, I'm out of town. And then click submit. So that way they know that I can't make it, and the reason I can't make it is because I'm out of town. Not that my team needs to know why I can't make it, but at least they know what's up. And then another thing too is we actually give your people the power to set their availability. Because I know how hard it is to schedule people with crazy schedules between work or especially summertime, people going out of town a lot and everything. So as a volunteer, I can actually go on here and click Update My Availability. And then I can add dates that I'm not available to serve. So for example, let's say I'm going to click Add an Unavailable Date here. And I'm going to say that I actually can't serve on June 27th, so I selected that date. And I can even put a memo, and I'll just say work. Save these dates, and there we go. So now I've got that date recorded here. So now as a children's ministry person that goes to try to schedule that volunteer, I won't be able to schedule them because they have made that date unavailable, and it'll actually gray out that person. So it's just a great little feature there in Church Connect. Church Connect really, not only is it the hub for all of your church people, just to be able to be connected and do things like submit prayer requests or give online, but it's also the hub for your people in your children's ministry when it comes to scheduling them and being able to view those scheduling requests and set their availability. So that's just kind of a quick overview of Church Connect and what that looks like, and just kind of the process of using those forms for registrations. So that is everything as far as children's ministry related and some of the most popular features that you can use in ChurchTrac for your children's ministry. So now what I'm going to go ahead and do is we're going to switch gears here and we're going to open the floor for questions because I know there's a lot of questions. So anything children's ministry related, I want to answer all the questions. So what I'll do is actually enable what we call our Q&A mode. And so I'm going to ask my team if they could go ahead and disable the chat, and I have started the Q&A mode. And so what this Q&A mode is you can actually type out a question that you want me to answer live on air, and I will try to answer every question that I can. And also, if you see someone else that's put up a really great question that you want me to answer, go ahead and bump it. That way it'll move it to the top. And I'm willing to stay here as long as it takes. I know we've got a good amount of people in here hanging out. And I just want you to know that, don't feel like you have to stay through this whole Q&A. If you got somewhere to be, then just thank you so much for joining us. But I do want to remind everybody again about our Facebook group, because that's just becoming such a great place to talk to other people using ChurchTrac and to really just learn from each other. I see a lot of great conversation on there about children's ministry, about online giving, about Church Connect especially. So go on there, check it out. And also, if you haven't yet seen our YouTube channel, we post so many videos, all the videos, about everything from, like I said, online giving to Church Connect to accounting, you name it. So if you're trying to learn how to use a particular feature in ChurchTrac, the chances are there is a video on there on our YouTube channel that walks you through all of the things. So there you go. All right, well, I see some questions. They are starting to come on in, and I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get ready to answer some of them. Who knows? Maybe someone will ask a really, really crazy question that I don't even know. We'll find out. All right, so I see, let me go ahead and put this question here. All right, thank you, team. So what do you recommend for the printer, make and model for child check-in labels? So ChurchTrac works with virtually any label printer out there. There's not like a specific model, but I would recommend maybe using one of the models that we have in our support guide. So if you go to our help, so click that green help button in ChurchTrac, and let me show you what that looks like real quick. So going to our help button, and then I click show all help topics, and I'm actually going to scroll here to family check-in. And then I'm going to go to label printer setup. So here's a few printers that we actually have taken the time to create in-depth step-by-steps how to set these printers up with both Mac or Windows. And I would recommend maybe going for something like the Brother QL810W or the 820 NWB. Those seem to be really popular. I think both of them are wireless as well, which just makes it even sweeter. So that way I've seen children's ministries that'll have one label printer and like 2 check-in stations. So those are probably going to be your best options. Dymo works great too, but it seems like Brother seems to be the most popular for everybody using ChurchTrac. So good question. All right, next question. All right, this one's from Amy. Hey, that's my mom's name. Cool. If we use a form to register people for VBS, how can we send info to people who register? So I'm going to reread that just because my eyes are failing me here, and I need to reread it. If we use a form to register people for VBS, how can we then send info to the people who register? That's a really good question, because when you're utilizing a form, it's grabbing that information in a different way than if people were registering through an event registration. So in that situation, you would actually want to go ahead and take those emails. Can I say it? Team, can I say it? I guess I'll say it. I'm going to kind of give you a little. So we are making some changes here that we're going to talk about tomorrow, but we actually have made a way for you to export data from your forms. So when people fill out these forms, we've made a way for you to export data to make it easier to be able to add this information to ChurchTrac. So that is the one caveat when we're talking about utilizing forms and pulling email addresses and everything in this situation, is that you will have to enter that data into ChurchTrac. So it's not as seamless as if it were an event card. But in terms of making it easy for people to sign up, especially people that don't even go to our church, which in many cases may be a good portion of the people, this is still going to be the best way, even though there will be a little bit of that back and forth, adding info back into ChurchTrac. So I hope I answered your question well and didn't give too much away about our new feature coming out tomorrow. Well, features, didn't tell you everything. All right, this is from Dwayne. Can you see whether a volunteer has completed a background check? Does ChurchTrac do background checks? I love where you're thinking here, Dwayne. So I would highly recommend, so ChurchTrac doesn't do background checks, but you can use ChurchTrac to keep track of your background checks. And I would highly recommend doing a couple things here. And let me kind of quickly show you the process of how you can do that. So go back to ChurchTrac, go to My People screen. Now, when it comes to recording background checks, I would recommend creating a user-defined field. And a user-defined field is basically a custom field that you've created for your church. So user-defined fields, and you can just click Add a User-Defined Field and create one. And this is a field that's going to be applied to everybody in the software. Now, I've actually already created one called Background Check with a year required. And so now this is applied to all my people. And so when I go through and look at people, I can actually scroll down a hair and I can see background check date right here. So there we go. I'm keeping track of their background check date. And then I would take things the next step further by actually just creating a quick smart list. So go to smart list, and I'm just going to click new smart. Actually, I may already have it. Yeah, so needs background check. So I created a smart list, and this smart list only has one criteria, and that is if their background check date is less than this particular date, then it's going to show them on a list. And so if I click Show Matching Names, this is a running list of all of my people at my church that need a background check because their background check that they had gotten previously is already expired. And so that's how you can do that, to keep track of your background checks in ChurchTrac. And just kind of quick thing to throw out there, if you're not background checking, and one of the biggest things I hear from some smaller ministries is they say they can't afford it. I always reply, you can not afford to background, or you can not afford to background check. You should always be background checking anybody that's working in the children's ministry or in close proximity to children. So just going to get off my soapbox there, but I had to throw that out there. All right, let's see another question. All right, what tablet/computer do you suggest for using check-in? This is a really good question. I tend to lean towards not spending a crazy amount of money for things that don't need to be a crazy amount of money. I like to be thrifty. So for something like ChurchTrac check-in, it's really not intensive at all. It's web-based, and so you don't need a very powerful computer. Honestly, I would recommend just for compatibility, because as great as iPads are, it still sometimes can be a challenge with wireless printers and everything, because it has to be a wireless printer typically. And so I would lean more towards finding like a cheap PC, or if you've got an old Mac lying around, I would use one of those. Just because it's easier to configure them with the printer, it just seems to be that a lot of ministries just find that there's less downtime when they're using just a dedicated machine like that. In fact, you can find used computers that are like refurbished, especially PCs, for like maybe $150, $200 tops, that will do this beautifully. So I'd recommend something like that. But again, you can use an iPad with AirPrint if you need to. And Josh is asking, is there a way for guests to register for an event without creating a Church Connect account? So Josh, that's a really good question. That's what a form card would be for. So if you are wanting to create an event and you don't want people to have to create a Church Connect account, exactly what I just showed, because even though I was logged in here, actually I may not, yeah, I was logged in, but you don't have to be logged in to fill out that form card. And so it looked the same whether or not I was logged in, and I'm still getting those responses. So I would definitely encourage you using a form card for situations in which you want people to register for things, but you really don't want them to have to go and create an account and everything. You really just want to quickly get information. That's going to be your best bet. All right, this question is from Kevin. So Kevin's asking, does each child listed have to be in ChurchTrac? Does each child listed have to be in ChurchTrac? What about visitors? So when it comes to checking in children, I'm trying to make sure I know what you're exactly talking about. If you're talking about attendance, you do need to put that child into ChurchTrac. And you also need to put their parent into ChurchTrac as well, so you can actually perform that check-in and check-out process to make it work properly. And I want to quickly show that again. And while I'm kind of showing that, please, anybody else, if you have questions, bring them here because I want to answer them. So when it comes to going into check-in mode here, so I'm going to go back to our events and attendance screen. And I'm going to go to that event that I was just on earlier, a children's ministry test event that I'd made. So check-in mode. It is super easy to add parents and their children on the fly. Let's pretend right now that we're in a children's ministry situation. It's a Sunday morning, and we have got kids coming in, checking in. Well, the parents are checking them in. Hopefully, the kid's not checking themselves in. And so I just click Add Family at the top right. So top right in case you're watching on a smaller device. And then I would just type in the name of the parent. So I'll just say this parent's name is Mike. And Mike's last name is Adams. And I'm not even going to bother putting the birthday for Mike. And Mike is a guest. And I'll put in a phone number real quick for Mike. 904-555-5555. Totally a real phone number. And then I'm going to go ahead and add Mike's child here. So Mike's checking in his daughter, Lissa. And right here I'm going to go ahead and assign that children's check-in tag to Melissa. So that way we can check in Alyssa. And we'll put in a birthday. So Alyssa's birthday. And the year. Anytime I put in years for children, it makes me feel old. So 2016. And she is a child. And there we go. And then if I wanted to, I could actually add another family member. So then hit submit. And so now I have got that parent already in the ChurchTrac system where we can continue to hopefully follow up with this parent and everything, which I highly encourage. But then we have the child also checked in. And so that way I can check in the child, print that label, and we are ready to go. So that's how quickly and easily you can add these children and their parents to your ChurchTrac database. All right, another question here, and this one is from Amy. And so Amy's asking, when you do the smart list for need background check, does it only pull people who have a date in that field? I'm going to reread that. So when you do the smart list for people who need a background check, does it only pull people who have a date in that field? So there's so many different ways you can keep track of background checks in ChurchTrac. The way I just showed by simply creating a field with that background check date, honestly, after testing out a lot of different ways, that's probably the easiest way to do it because not only is it uniform across the board, but you can track it. And so I always recommend to have a date for that. And so whatever that background check was completed, you put that date in, and then you just generate that smart list. And that smart list, if I go to my smart list real quick, actually, to show you. And so if I were to create a new smart list, for example, and I'm just going to call this, whoops, it jumped away. Let me go back to new smart list. And I'm going to name this smart list background check test so I don't get it confused with my other one. And then I'm going to add a criteria here. And my mouse is so sensitive that sometimes I accidentally add things when I don't mean to. So now this criteria I want to add, I'm going to scroll down here all the way down to background check. So there's the background check field that I have created that I'm applying all these dates to. And then I want to have a date that's before a certain date. So maybe, let's say, what is today, the 9th? So June 9th. So I want to have anybody with a background check that was before June 9th of 2020. So I'm going to go to 2020, June 9th. And so anybody with a background check before this date, their background check is expired. I think my math makes sense. I can't remember. Math was never my best subject. I leave that to the mathematicians. So background check is less than this particular date. It's going to show those matching names. So then if I click show matching names, here we go. I've got 22 names. Wow, I need to go ahead and start doing some new background checks on some people. And so these are all the people right here that need a new background check. And then just to kind of reiterate the power of ChurchTrac and what you can do with it, check this out. This is a real life situation. I've got all these people I need to background check, right? So I want to actually go ahead. I can check all the names on this list. So I'm going to click this right here, check all the names on this list. I'm going to go to the messaging tab, and then I'm going to send a text message. And then from here, I can tell them, hey, hey, so-and-so, or actually it's going to a bunch of people, so I would just say, you are needing to do a new background check. Please click the link to get started or something like that. And so it's just that easy to be able to keep track of the background checks and then be able to act on it, because it's all good to be able to make a smart list and know who needs to get a background check, but to actually get them to do a background check, this takes it to that next step. So I hope that helped. All right, so question here. So after kids are checked in, do they need to be checked out? So I always recommend this. That's kind of the standard operating procedure, is to check your children out after you've checked them in. So yes, always recommend checking them out. That way you also have a timestamp of when they came in and then when they left. So there you go. And the checkout process is identical. It's literally the same thing. It's just, it says checkout. All right, question from Amy. If they have no date in the background check, will they come up on your list too? So they do not. So as we just saw, they were not coming up on the background check list. All right. And another question from Amy. Amy's on a roll with so many good questions. I always appreciate whenever we do these kind of workshops, there's always a few people that bring the heat with some really good questions. So just wondering if it'll show me people that need to do their first background check. Yeah, so this is a really good situation, Amy, where I would probably, let me think through it for a second, because oftentimes in ChurchTrac there are multiple ways to do things. I would probably have like a tag that you would assign to people that's called like need background check or something. And then I would apply that tag to people. So let me quickly, I'll show you what this looks like real fast. This is cool. So let's say we've got people that have told us they want to serve in our children's ministry, and I would highly recommend using a form card and having create a form for people to fill out when they want to join the children's ministry. And then I'm going to create a tag, and this tag is going to be called Needs Background Check. Man, we're learning so many cool things today. So here's the tag, Needs Background Check. And then what I'm going to do I need to make this anything else? I don't think I do. Okay, great. So now I'm going to go to my people screen, and I'll uncheck all these people. We'll actually go back and view everybody here. Now, let's just say for all intents and purposes, I already know I've got like a list of like 5 people or something that say they want to serve and we need to perform a background check for them. Then what I would do in a situation like this is I would go ahead and have these people tagged. So I would tag them. So let's say I want to tag Jamie and John, and then I want to tag Emily, Keith, and Walt. So we'll just say these people we need to get a background check. So I'm going to tag them all in one fell swoop here. So this is the bulk edit button. You can learn more about it in our user guide, but you just click that little cogwheel. And then I'm going to add the selected tag to this person. And in this situation, I'm going to scroll all the way down to Needs Background Check. and then apply those changes to all check names. This is in red, and sometimes I feel like it should be green, but it's in red. But apply these changes, and I'll say yes. So now I've added that tag to those 5 people. So now check this out. This is really cool. This is why tags are such a big deal in ChurchTrac. So I go to everyone tagged, and then I select the tag here, and I'll scroll all the way down to that one that I created called Needs Background Check. Click it, and there we go. I've got these people, so I can go ahead and act on that if needed. I could even create a smart list if I wanted to do that. But I think you'll find as you start utilizing tags a little bit more, a lot of times you don't even need to create a smart list because it's simply just looking at people that have a tag. So tags would be a great situation for that. All right. That was a really good question. Thank you. Well, I think those are all of our questions. I'll leave it for one last second just in case we have another. But I think this was a good opportunity where we were able just to learn kind of all the ins and outs and dive a little bit deeper into this Q&A mode as we learned some of the more advanced things, which I got some questions I did not even think we'd be addressing, which was great, especially being able to take people past that step of actually tracking your background checks, but actually reaching out to your people that need them so you can get them to redo their background check. So really awesome. So if you need any additional help, they just threw that graphic up there, but just reach out to us, just churchtrac.com/support. That's where you can find our online user guide. You can view a lot of great articles that show you step-by-steps of how to use different features in the software, as well as a lot of videos that are hooked to there. And speaking of videos, check out our YouTube channel. That's a great place to just view previous webinars. We post all of our webinars, such as this, on our YouTube channel. And you can also hop on there to see any of our quick tips and step-by-steps for other features as well. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this was helpful in just getting prepped and ready with our children's ministry, being able to schedule our volunteers, reach out to parents, have sign-ups and all that good stuff. Coming back for next week, we're going to be talking about ChurchTrac for administration. So if you've got some leadership in your church that wants to learn the software deeper in terms of how to use ChurchTrac with administration, we'll talk about the core features that really go with that. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. You all have a fantastic rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. See ya.